Welcome back, painting friends. Today we are going to paint a wishing well in a fall forest. So, colors you're going to need: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, brown, black, and white. I always have my favorite 4 brushes with me. I've got my 1-inch flat brush, my number 10, 6, and 1 round brush. Don't forget to have a cup of water and a rag for keeping those brushes clean. So let's get started. We're going to start down here at the bottom of our canvas, and we're going to start with a mix of red and orange paint on our 1-inch flat brush. I'm just going to brush these colors in. This is just kind of going to be the base background of our fall scene. I'm going to go up about 1/3 of the way on the canvas, and then we're going to start to change it up a little bit. From there, I'm going to take that brush and I'm going to have a little bit of red, a little bit of orange, but I'm going to scoop quite a bit of yellow onto it. And we're going to start to brush this lighter color in, going back just a little bit further. I can wipe that brush off and then grab just white paint on there and brush just one more time to lighten it up even more. Now the entire top of my canvas, I can go ahead and paint white, and I do want to paint the whole area white. So when I add my blue on, I want it to be a very, very, very light, dusky blue. So I am going to put quite a lot of white up here so I can brush that blue in. Almost no blue on my brush, okay? Almost no blue. Like I said, I want it to be really, really, really light. This is perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a sponging technique. I don't like to use fancy things because, well, I want you guys to be able to have them all at home. So we're going to use our rag. I'm just going to take my rag and I'm just going to kind of bunch it up and ball it up. Make sure that there's a lot of really great hills and valleys in it. So if it's just flat like this, then it's just one level. But if you take it and you really kind of just bunch it up, make sure that there are lots of areas that go up and down, lots of hills and valleys, we are going to dip it in that red and orange on our canvas or on our palette. Okay. And then all we're going to do is we are going to kind of dot and dab. I'm going to grab some yellow too, all around this entire bottom area to give it the look of fallen leaves. So we want it to look a little spongy, and I don't want all those colors to mix in too much. You can even kind of get a little crazy and add some brown in there too, because, you know, fall leaves can be brown. We're going to do this the whole base. Now, while we have that on there, we're going to go ahead and grab our number 10 round brush. And I want my trees to look a little dark blue. And I know that sounds weird, but I really love the contrast of orange and blue. They're complementary colors, which means they show each other off pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I've got my blue paint here. I'm just going to take some black and add it to that blue until it's just a little bit darker. I just don't want that really, really, really bright blue color in there. So I want it to be a really nice, dark blue color. And then with that blue color, we're going to put our trees in. Now remember, our wishing well is going to go right here in the center, so I want to leave that area open. But for our trees, what we can do is we can start with lines going from the top down. And I like to make my trees look like letter Ys, and so there's my Y. That's how I start all of my trees. So I can make one really long arm and then a smaller one. Now we're going to go back in with a smaller brush to make our other branches, but you can add as many trees on your canvas as you want. The thing is when we start to go back further onto our landscape, you're going to use less black and more blue. So as I start to go back, I'm going to make my trees skinnier, and they're going to be, I'm going to switch to my number 6 round brush for this one, and they're going to be a little bit more blue than they are black. And I want to put these on here now when that background is still a little bit wet, because it gives you that that look that those trees are further away from you. Now that I have my main trees on here, it's time to add in some of those smaller branches. So I'm going to work on my ones in my background first, because we do want those to be a little bit lighter. Now the ones in my background, some can just be sticks because we are going to be adding leaves to these. But other ones, you can go ahead and add a little bit of extra branches in if you want. Remember, the ones in the back are going to be lighter. So it's okay if they go over this one. We're going to clean that one up next. But you want the ones in the back to be a little bit lighter, so just let that blue in that background mix in. I even had a little bit of orange kind of attack these when I was painting them, and it didn't bother me. I like that color being mixed in up there. Now here's a trick. When I paint trees, I always paint my tree first, and then I go back through and I go from the tip of each branch and I pull it all the way down to the base. And I go back to the tip of each branch and pull it all the way down to the base. And the reason I do that is because it really helps the tree look like it's connected. Where some of these trees you can see where they have a separation where this was not fully grown into that tree. This helps you kind of fix that. So make sure anytime you're adding to your trees that you are adding in from the top, going down all the way to the base of the tree. Now that these are about finished, I'm going to go in with straight blue. I know it's going to sound really weird, but watch, if I go in with the straight blue and I just brush up and down on the side that is pointing in towards where my wishing well is going to go, okay? So I'm just taking that blue and I'm adding a little bit of an accent area with that dark blue. And I'm not brushing it in all the way, I'm just kind of taking my brush and doing long brush strokes going up and down the side of that tree. And then on the other side, I'm going to do it on the right hand side of the tree, that it's all kind of pointing in towards that wishing well. Okay, we are going to let this dry. When we come back, we're going to add in that wishing well. I was really debating leaving these trees a little bare, but I am going to go in with my number 1 round brush, and I'm going to add quite a few extra tiny little arms to this. Okay, so again, I'm going to go out from the edge, okay, bring them in. Oh, hang on, let me grab some more paint on there. Go out from the edge, bring them into the tree, and then pull them down. So I want them to look like they connect well with the tree. Now you can make your wishing well any kind of color you want, but I'm going to stick with grays. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a dark gray color on my palette. So a lot of black, a little bit of white, make a dark gray color for my base, and then I'll add my stones in. So I've got my number 6 round brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make right here a curved line. Okay, from that curved line, I'm going to go straight down. And I'm going to make an exact replica of that first curve. Go ahead and paint that whole space in gray. Now the back part of this, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra black to my brush and kind of make the top of my well with that dirty gray brush and a little bit of black paint. I'm going to grab some brown paint with a little bit of black on the brush. I've still got my number 6 round brush, brown and black. And I'm going to draw the 2 lines that go up from the well. And then my roof. So I'm just going to add a straight line across. And from there, I'm going to make an angled line that goes up. Go ahead and fill that in. This time I'm just going to put brown and a little bit of white on my brush. Fill this space in. With my black and brown again on my brush, I'm going to make the line that goes right through the center. And then just over here, it's going to extend and it's going to go down for the handle. All right, let's start to add some details in here. So for my stones, I'm going to use a mixture of browns, blacks, and whites. So all these colors on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just blobby stones, okay? Blobby stones. And I'm going to tap them. That's going to give them the stone texture. I want these blobby stones, and I'm sure that is a very technical term, blobby stones. I want these blobby stones to be pretty close together. So I'm just going to one by one make each one a unique shape and then tap those colors in. If I get colors like this one's pretty light, I might add some of that white over there just to dull down that color and maybe add some more brown to it. Just kind of play with the colors. I am going to bump myself in a speed motion so that you can see how this goes, but it's going to take me a while. So remember, brown, black, and white on your brush. Get your blob shape close to the blob next to it, and then tap the colors in until you get them where you like them. All right, let's jump into speed motion. I love how those stones turned out. I'm now going to take just a little bit of black paint and just go right around each stone. And then I'm going to take a little bit of green and brown on my brush. So a little bit of green and brown. I want to dull my green down just a little bit. And I'm going to just kind of tap a little bit of green on here to have it look like there's some moss growing. So this does not have to be anything where it's going to be in a special spot. Just take your number 6 brown brush, a little bit of greenish brown paint. Just kind of dab some of that on there. All right, let's look at the top of our roof here. Let's go ahead and add some of those details in there. I'm going to grab green and brown on my brush, and I'm just going to make a couple of lines that go left to right. And I don't have to make these even. I just want to add some texture to the wood roof of my wishing well. Now I'm going to take a little bit of brown and black and do the exact same thing. Wipe that brush off. Now I'm going to go in with straight black paint and I'm going to make some more defined lines. So I'm going to go straight across. And as I'm going across, I can kind of pick my brush up and then set it back down. So my brush does not have to be full contact with this roof the whole time. It can be a small line, jump, big line. And then on my wood going up and down, I'm just going to take a couple of little white lines. Just add a couple of white lines on there to lighten it up, give it a little bit of texture. Same thing across the top up here, just a little bit of white. So I got barely any white on the very tip of my brush. I'm going to pull that across. I'm also going to add a small highlight of white to the top of my well. Okay. While that dries, let's add some leaves in here. So I'm going to go in with my number 6 round brush, and I'm just going to, not number 6, my number 10 round brush. I'm going to kind of pull the bristles apart so that they kind of stand separate. And I'm going to use mostly yellow with just maybe a touch of orange. So mostly yellow, touch of orange, and I'm going to add some very light leaves on the edge of some of these branches. A lot of times when I paint trees, I add a ton of leaves. This one I want to be super minimal. So just on the very edges of any of these skinny branches, I'm going to add some leaves. And if my tree trunk is in front of my base of my wishing well, I can actually make those leaves extend over the wishing well. I'm going to add some of that same texture down on the bottom of the leaves also. So down here on the bottom of my picture, that'll also help kind of bring those trees into where they are attached. I can even add some of that greenish brown color. Maybe there's a little bit of grass still popping up just about and around. So I'm going to bump in a speed motion one more time. I'm going to add my yellow and green to the bottom of our scenery, and then we're going to finish off our wishing well. And you know what I'm thinking? Look, I change things as I go, but I do like Halloween, and I do like the ghost picture, so I might add a ghost or two behind these trees. You could put the ghosts in or not, totally your choice, but we might be going rogue and changing this up. All right, let's get in speed motion. Let's put this in, and then let's decide what we're going to do from there. Now that I have all of that finished, I'm going to grab a little bit of green, but I'm going to add some yellow to it. I want it to be just a little bit brighter for my ivy. And I've got my number 6 round brush. Now, when I make teeny tiny lines, I do like to water my paint down just a little bit. So I've got a little bit of water on here, and I am just going to make some green ivy kind of running up and onto this wishing well. And then on that green ivy, I could just go ahead and add a couple of leaves. And these leaves, all I'm doing is number 6 round brush. I'm just making kind of a drop of the brush. I'm letting the brush bristles be the shape of the leaves. And then with that ivy, I'm going to take the back of my brush with a little bit of white paint, and I'm just going to add a couple of dots. Might have a little late flower blooms on it. And then with a little bit of gray paint, I'm going to make my string or my chain for my bucket. So I'm going to make a couple of loops on here. And then right here down the center with that number 6 round brush, I am going to make just a bunch of little ovals going down. I'm going to add a couple little red flowers on this ivy too. I really like the white, but I think I want to add a pop of red in there to bring that red up from the ground. But these might not be as many, but we're going to still add some. I think I'm going to add a little bit of that mossy green to the top of my wishing well also. So you know what to do. When you're finished, find a color that's going to show up on your canvas and sign your name. Remember that I never get to see what you're painting at home unless you post it to my Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you're kept up to date on all of my tutorials. And remember, as always, stay kind, stay creative, and stay safe. Have a great day, friends. Bye now.